Welcome to the Viking Press Pass. I am Matthew Nickel, and joining me tonight is quarterback of the Vikings, Jimmy McHugh. So, Jimmy, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to officially get a chance to meet you here this year. We have not had a chance to really connect past too much, but so it's awesome to finally put a face to a name and spend some time with you. Hey, Vikings are off to a 2-1 start. 1-1 here in the conference. Let's talk a little bit about the Milliken game. I mean, this is your third game kind of at the helm of the Viking offense. How did you feel like the Milliken game went offensively for you and the other 10 guys on the field there?
Sure. So I thought the Milliken game went well. It was good to kind of get a big W after 2 weeks ago. Obviously that was big, a little pick me up game, but I also think we have some things to work on from that game. We improved from the week before, but there's still just little things we need to correct that'll make us way better. So, we'll learn from the good and bad from that game.
So what were some of the things that, coming out of that Wheaton game, that you really kind of focused on going into the Milliken game?
So we made it a thing that we wanted to hit some big plays. That's what we lacked against Wheaton. We didn't hit those big plays, and I thought we hit a few of those against Milliken, and that's why we won the game in the fashion that we did. So I'm glad we were able to do that.
Well, I tell you what, anytime you can win a big play, I mean, it's just like stealing possessions defensively, right? Or on special teams. You gotta find a way to steal a possession. We got one that was
Totally.
even better. But if you think about any defensive coordinator's game plan, it's like limit big plays. That's usually one of them, one of the probably
Exactly.
three. So offensively, you're like, man, let's get a big one. So I would say, right now you have a little over 700 yards passing. That's actually second best in the CCIW right now. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You've rushed for 34 yards, have a touchdown on the ground. How do you feel like things have just been going? Because obviously you transferred, mid-year last year. So you got some spring ball work. You got to go overseas and get that game in. But just kind of walk me through what the first 3 games has felt like. For for the Vikings.
Sure, sure. So, I mean, I was fortunate enough to, come here in the spring and kind of get into the groove of the offense, if that makes sense. But I still feel like we're kind of trying to figure it out still. You know what I mean? Whether it's just me or it's everyone else on the offense, we're still getting to the top of our game. I don't think we're there yet. Um, these past couple of games, we've been getting there. Like I said, against Milliken, we started to hit those big ones. We're starting to do the little things right, but I feel like once we really start to figure out the little things, we'll we'll be at the top. So
Well, I mean, it's hard to beat that, stepping into week 1 versus Simpson. Um and having the game that you and those receivers had. That was, gosh, one of the first 360-yard games since, like, I think 2022, since Cole Bardois did, I think, his sophomore year or junior year. So not gonna lie, you guys set the bar that game one,
yeah,
pretty high. Um, what did that feel like? I mean, going back to even just the Simpson game and just playing kind of the first, like, meaningful game, for the Vikings for the season. It was too tight. It was too close, I think, for comfort.
yeah, uh-huh,
But I always say thank you, Zach Gray, and in that big hand of his to knock it down.
exactly.
But offensively, you're the offense was doing some things, I would say, a little bit uncharacteristic of how we've operated the past couple of years. And I think that's in a positive way. I mean, Schlantzer playing in the slot, Vrabak, has had a ton of catches. Obviously, kind of reinstilling that connection between you and Braden Smith. Um, Man, what was it like just coming off that week one, kind of Simpson win and playing that first full like meaningful game?
Yeah, I mean that game was so fun. I don't you don't realize how, big in numbers we had until after the game. You know what I mean? That's not really something you're thinking about during the game, but everybody did their job that game. Like we don't have that many passing yards unless our O-line's holding up, unless our coaches are making the right plays and stuff like that. So that was a really fun game. I thought we executed well. It was a good team win, but we still had a few things we needed to work on from that because we missed a couple. We could have had more. We could have had more yards, more points. It shouldn't have been that close. All those little things. So
100%. Now, I mean, you go from Simpson, to Wheaton, kind of back to Milliken, and we got North Park, this Saturday. Um, what was it like playing against someone who's been, ranked in the top 25 like Wheaton? What were just some of the different things that, gave us trouble either offensively or schematically? I mean, kind of what was running through your mind, as you kind of reflect a little bit on that Wheaton game.
true. I mean, that's a hard question. I would say. I mean, I think they had a couple better players than Simpson had. But other than that, I just think we didn't play as good of a game as we did against Simpson. Like I said, it's a to get those numbers to put up all those points. It's not just a matter of me throwing the ball, you know what I mean, or the receivers catching it. It's a whole team game, and I think we just weren't clicking against Wheaton. I don't think it's because they were way better than us or we didn't have a chance. It's just simply because we didn't have a good enough game, and I wish we could have that one back.
Well, and those first two series, I mean, the offense was working their way down the field, and I'll just call it like it is what it is. It was just it was a great fluke play by their DN to knock that up, and it just happens, right? It is what it is. But then
Yeah,
you
that
guys come
that was
back down and but you guys work your way back down the field again. And I don't care what anybody says, you got the first down, is my opinion from my vantage point.
tough.
Um,
It
so
was close. I thought we should have had it too.
yeah, I'm gonna take home field advantage. We should have got that one, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. Um,
hmm
so it's like boom, right out of the gate, showing you can kind of move the ball and but it's hard because it's hard to stay up after two drives that didn't have any favorable outcomes. But but hey, great bounce back week against Milliken. They were coming in on a 2-0 streak. They haven't started 2-0 since, gosh, when was it the last time? Their last 3-0 win streak, gosh, what was it? It was like 2019 or something like that. So it'd been a hot minute, since they started off so well, and it was like you said, it was just a great positive win. I mean, defensively, for Milliken, it's like they came in with, while it was early in the season, just the number one passing efficiency defense, and it's like I didn't really call the name Alex Areza or Ryan Baskerville their linebackers too often because it felt like they kept you clean. They did a great job opening some lanes up front, for Ben Ludlum and Josh Lim.
hmm
And they both had some good games, so it was nice to kind of click offensively and get a good balanced attack. And um, so how's the offensive line just um, been meshing so far this year? I know, it's been awesome watching Max Castle, be back on the field. I know Zach Otts really kind of stepped in at that left guard, and I have to apologize to his family because I kept saying Zach Weierschauser, but it was Zach Ott. I tell you,
Yeah.
it's so hard from my vantage point to sometimes pick out what that line, what that number is. And I'm like,
Right.
and
I
it's
bet you're so
sometimes
far
so
up there. You
close.
can't
My
Yeah.
God. So I have to apologize.
But no,
Um,
the O line's been doing great. I love those guys. They work their tails off. You know what I mean? They keep me safe. I think if you look at the stats, I don't know exactly how many sacks we've had, but it's a low number. I could count on less than one hand. I know that. So, but they've been doing a great job, and it's their first time all playing together, all those five guys. So, I'm proud of them. They've been doing a good job. They work their tail off, and just like I said for everyone else, we've all got stuff to work on. They're going to learn from the good stuff they do and the bad stuff they do, and they're going to get better. So,
100%. Yeah, I know
yeah.
coming into the Milliken game, just 2 sacks allowed. Heck, they didn't have any, and gosh, we got like 3 against them. So defensively, so that was awesome. Well, what I want you to try and do here is I want you to attempt to describe how you see the field before the play is snapped. So try and like think a little bit about give us a description through your lens, through your face mask. What it is that you see, like what are some of your reads and some of your cues, kind of all the things that you're trying to process leading up to pre-snap, before you snap the ball.
Okay, sure. So, obviously, during the week, I'm trying to figure out what I could expect on each down versus what formation we're in, if that makes sense. So, I kind of have an idea before I even go up there and see what the look is. But right when I get up there, before I take the snap, I'm looking at, do I see man or zone? And from there, I'm looking at who my hot read is, depending on the protection. If it's a 6-man, 7-man, or 5-man protection. And then after that, whatever the play is, I'm thinking about my reads. If this safety rotates this way, I'm going to work this side and go 1 to 2. If the safety works this way, I'm going to work the field and go 1 2 to 3. So and it changes for every play. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a different read for every single play we run. But an easy way to put it would be I try to see if it's man or zone, who I'm hot off of, and then what my progression would be.
I like it. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to hear kind of your perspective a little bit on how you kind of process the game.
Mhm.
What are some of your cues, and part of it is, it's funny because I coach my son's 3rd and 4th grade tackle team, and just trying to get like our quarterback to read an unblocked end. What are they doing? Do we hand it off the middle? It's basically the Augie offense. So it's like, are you going to run
Right. Yeah.
your handoff counter underneath, or are you going to keep it and run outside? A ton of similarities there. So it's always interesting to hear how people process things a little bit different.
And on top of that, our Coach Jones, the OC, he kind of knows what to expect too. So I could kind of tell what he's expecting based off of his play call. You know what I mean? Like if he's calling a man beater, all right, now I don't even have to check or pay attention to as much as if they're in man or zone. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but yeah.
Do you have any level of like flexibility to change, whether it's protections, routes, plays? What level of like flexibility do you have within the offense?
I mean, totally. I could change it whenever I want. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm doing that a whole lot because our coaches put us in good positions 99% of the time. You know what I mean? So, but I do have the ability to change it. I've done it a couple times, and that's really beneficial because when that 1% does happen, and it's like, okay, I see something here, and I could switch it to that. That's a huge thing for us to be able to do. So.
I like it. I like it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the transition from, Illinois State to Augustina. Because it's one I'm not, super familiar with how the actual process works. But maybe before we talk a little bit about just kind of the process itself, like share, what went into that decision, and when you started to put the wheels in motion, either mentally, you were wanting to make the change, or you finally made the announcement that you were going to make the switch? Like, walk me
Mhm.
through what went into that decision.
Sure. I mean, I just wasn't happy with the way football was going. I wanted a better chance to play. I wanted to be able to go somewhere that I don't want to say I wasn't wanted at Illinois State, but you just want to be the guy sometimes, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I know Coach Jones and Coach Bell recruited me a bunch in high school, and I know they believed in me and they knew what I could do. So right when I kind of had that feeling of, I want to go play somewhere else, I texted Coach Bell, we set it up, and now I'm here and I'm super happy that I did it. So
That's good. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, how was the transition mid-year coming, to Augustana? As I think about, like, you know, obviously you get to participate in spring ball and travel, but how does that work kind of academically to make that switch? Begin to kind of pick up classes, and how does that kind of work?
So I've talked to a couple other guys who have, transferred in the same kind of way that I did, and a lot of guys actually lost a lot of their credits, like they had to retake classes when they got to Augie, but I was fortunate enough to only lose a couple of them, and they were kind of just extra elective classes, you know what I mean? They weren't like big math classes or something that I had to retake. So I was happy about that.
That's good. I always worry a little bit about that. But I always hear more of it happening at like the junior college level, going into like a division 1, 2, or 3 school,
Mhm.
that there's not a lot that transfers from the JUCO level. So I wasn't quite sure, going from, a great school like Illinois State, to, I'll call it a better school, but a great school in Augustana. Um, um, how those electives or some of those credits would transfer. So,
Yeah, it was
good.
it was just a couple electives that I lost. I think it was maybe 9 credit hours. I think it was
Mhm.
3 classes that I have to make up here, so it worked out pretty good.
So how does that put you? I mean, because it has you listed on the roster as a sophomore, because you were a true freshman in 22, redshirt freshman in 23. You transferred last year, and then but now you're listed as a sophomore. How does Is that more of a sport eligibility year, or is it truly how everything transfers over? It really truly puts you as a sophomore, both athletically and academically.
That's just my football eligibility. Right now I'm a senior in school. You know what I mean? I kind of have it spaced out now to where I'll graduate with enough time to play as many years of football as I want, which is still a question down the road. I don't really know yet.
Mhm.
So yeah, the it's saying a sophomore on the roster. That's my football eligibility.
Okay. That's what I was curious as I was looking through. I was like, wait, so did something happen within the transfer? That it's like, man, heck, maybe you technically are a sophomore.
Mhm.
But I wasn't quite sure, or you lost too many credits, in that transfer that,
Mhm.
it kind of put you back. So um interesting how that kind of looks. Have you I mean, what is your education? Like, what roster, what track are you, kind of landing on and pursuing?
I'm planning on graduating next spring, so not this spring, the spring after.
Okay. What
So
what major?
I'm a finance major.
Finance. Have you had a chance to do any like internships, over the summer, or?
Yeah, I had an internship this summer actually, which was kind of cool because at Illinois State I was there all summer, so I wasn't able to do an internship. But yeah, I had an internship at a trading company this summer, and it was fun. I liked it. So
Are you kind of looking at, like, trying to get into, like, stocks and trading and stuff like that, kind of post graduation, or?
yeah, I mean, it was kind of just the opportunity I had, but after doing it, I like it. I'm interested in it now. It's kind of something I'm looking at all the time now. So it's definitely a possibility, but I'm not too sure what I want to do yet. So
Follow the money, man. Follow the money. That's my advice. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, now I heard you previously played obviously basketball, baseball, and hockey, but once you hit high school, you stuck to basketball and football. But if we take away basketball and football, what sport outside of those did you enjoy more? Was it more hockey or baseball?
So before I got to high school, I was a big hockey guy. You know, I played hockey 7 days a week. I was traveling around the country every weekend. Like hockey was my main sport until my high school coaches were like, you know, you can throw a football, like let's play football. So that I was really a hockey guy up until maybe eighth grade or when I got to high school. And I miss hockey. Hockey's so fun. So
What were you more of an offensive player or defensive player? What position
I
did you
was an
play?
offensive guy. I played wing, a little bit of center, but I was a wing.
All right, so walk me through what's it like. I've never played hockey before. I, you know, I grew up around football and wrestling my entire life. So, I remember, gosh, I was in seventh grade. I tried to ice skate once and like I twisted my ankle and it was in the middle of football season. So I had a high ankle sprain. So I was like, you know what? I'm never skating again. So that was my career. So, walk me through like what was it about hockey that you liked, and especially kind of playing, wing or center, and it was just it's a fast game.
Hmm. It's it's a huge team sport. You know what I mean? You need all five guys on the ice to be on the same page and clicking. And I love the off the ice aspect of it. You know what I mean? Because hockey's year round. It's 375 days a year. You know what I mean? There was no off season for hockey, so I loved that part. I love just being around the guys all year. I love the physicality of it. You know, you can really go hit somebody as hard as you can. You can fight people without getting in trouble. If you do that in football, you're getting kicked out. You're getting kicked out of the game. So, but no, I loved everything about hockey, and I miss it.
I mean, you're 6'3", now. How tall were you always a taller player amongst, on the hockey team, or, was it just, hey, you kind of hit a huge growth spurt?
I think I really hit a growth spurt my freshman year of college. I wasn't like a small dude, but I wasn't as tall. I wasn't as widened out like I am now. Um, so when I played hockey, I mean I was average size, but yeah,
Do you still follow hockey quite a bit now, or?
I do. I do. I like to watch the Hawks here and there. It's a fun sport to watch too. It's one of my favorite sports to watch. I like watching football and maybe a little bit of basketball, but I like to watch hockey too.
I like it. I like it. Now, there's another interesting thing I had learned about you. When you were in youth football, you broke your elbow, had surgery. However, you didn't miss a game or practice. Now, how do you find that type of resilience, at a young age? Was it really like the parental support, that you had to help, kind of do that, or regardless, you wanted to be at practice, at games, kind of regardless? I mean, where did you find that resilience so young?
I think it was a little bit of both, like you just said. My dad was my head football coach, and he was super tough on me. He had me in the brace with like a huge elbow pad on, playing probably when I shouldn't be playing football and hockey at the time. But yeah, that and I just didn't want to let my teammates down. You know what I mean? I wanted to be there if I could, so I figured out a way to get it done.
Now, I also heard that you surprised at least your mom, and maybe your sisters, but by stepping into one of those games with a cast on, you kicked an extra point. So tell me a little bit about your experience moonlighting as a kicker.
Sure. So I mean, I hurt my elbow early in the season, and I'd try to squeeze. I'd suit up for practice. You know what I mean? I'd do what I can, but it's not like they were letting me play quarterback 2 weeks after elbow surgery. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think they stuck me in to kick the field goal to make me feel good about myself. We we wouldn't even kick extra points. We would always go for 2, except for that one time, just so I could say I played in the game.
Now, did you make it?
I did make it. We spent
Yeah.
all week practicing it, so I better
Well,
have
hey,
made it.
Jacob Garbett, man, better be careful just in case.
I wish I could kick it like that kid. He doesn't miss.
Yeah, he's um, after Sidney Maroon had a good back half of his career. Yorn, he was a great kicker for us. Um, Man, Jacob Garbett, freshman coming in. Yeah, he's made some good kicks, especially early on. I mean, he had that, so far as his longest, Matt Simpson. Um, yeah, he's been stepping up and doing well because I think what's interesting, you know, where the Vikings over the last couple of years have really made or break some of the games. It's been around the special teams play. So it's, allowing a block punt, allowing, a blocked field goal to happen, or just inconsistent, field goal kicks. So, you know, the kicker for us always has to be, it needs to be automatic, inside the 25, essentially, like
Mhm.
really anybody. But it seems like it's really kind of, bitten us in the butt a little bit, when we haven't had it. So it's been great to see, Jacob doing so well, early on. And I tell you what, man, for the other Jacob Turha, our punter, I was like feverishly on Facebook trying to figure out, like, before the first home game against Wheaton, how to say his last name because there isn't anything. I was like texting Bell, but I'm like, well, Bell's on the field, so he's not going to see it. He probably didn't even have his phone on him.
Uh-huh.
So finally, I'm like, all right, I'm trying to find anybody with Turha last name on the Augie tailgate, and end up connecting, with a family member of his. And I'm like, oh, thank God,
Mhm.
because I was like, is it Turka, Tersha? I was like, man, there's
Yeah,
so
I
many
I
different.
don't even know how to say it at this point. I've probably said his last name 50 different ways. I don't think he cares, but that's funny that you had to do that because I believe it.
Man, well, I hate when I don't get their names right, because it's like I always look at it as a responsibility of, like, I should get it right. I mean, I'm our home announcer. But yeah, Jacob Turha, Turha is how they told me.
Sounds
So,
about right. Sounds good enough.
um, well, hey, just a couple things here, before we kind of wrap things up. But Saturday, you guys are traveling up to North Park, for game one of your 2-game road trip schedule. What are you expecting to see a little bit from that North Park defense as you're, kind of working through this week?
Sure, I'm expecting to see a lot of man to man. Um, I've seen that they have some decent DBs. I don't think they're as good as our guys, so I hope they play man to man because we'll make them pay if they do. I know it's a big game for them. It's their homecoming game, so they want to beat us. But we're all our stomach is still burning from last year when they beat us here at home. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, I'm sitting there, and there's sometimes I swear if I could yell loud enough so you could hear me on the field, but I'm sitting there looking at, here, this is my scorecard from the game. But I'm sitting there and I see, Vrayback, who is, six, was he listed 6'4", and I see the corner number one for Milliken, Latrell Hannon. He's 5'9". I'm like, we've got 7 inches on this guy. What are we
Hmm.
doing? Let's just throw it to Ethan and let him go get it. Let's throw it to
Yeah.
to Sean. Sean's got like 5 inches on him. Let's go get it. So
Hmm.
I sit there and I see some of that stuff, and I'm like, where I've seen some folks be really successful within the CCIW is having tall receivers. So anytime I see that stick out like a sore thumb, I'm like, man, let's just go do it. Let them do their
Yeah.
thing. Just throw it
There's
up.
definitely a couple plays where I should have gave Ethan a shot against that guy, Sean too. But it all goes back to you're gonna have bad plays, you're gonna have good plays. You got to learn from them. and that's
Yep.
you know that's something we've learned from. So hopefully we take advantage of it for the rest of the season.
No, 100%. Well, and it's easy me sitting, looking at the field and getting a completely different vantage point. I mean, it's super easy for me to sit here and armchair quarterback this thing. So, um,
No, that's all right. I mean, I agree 100%. So
um, well, hey, well, lastly, to kind of wrap things up, if there's anyone in particular you'd like to thank, family, friends, any shout outs you'd like to make, anyone who maybe would be watching this, any final thoughts that you have, certainly the floor is all yours.
yeah, I mean, shout out to my mom and dad for giving me the opportunity to be here. That's all I got. And thank
I
you for
like it.
having me.
Absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure. Well, Jimmy, have a great night. Good luck on Saturday. I'll be watching from afar. But let's go bring home the rightful Viking W this time.
Yes, sir. We will. Thank you again.
If you like today's episode, make sure to just subscribe to the Viking Press Pass. 4 letters, 1 year, 4 letters, 1 month.